Hi there, today I have a new product with me that I haven't tried before. This is 3 sets of mini journals from Moleskine. These are all plain journals, so the pages are all completely blank. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe these are in the passport size. Now, if you do recall, last week I shared how I had lost my B6 Common Planner, which was not just my everyday carry, but it is the only planner that I have for this year. So if you missed that video, you can hear the whole story here. Now, since I was going to be on vacation for a whole week and I still needed somewhere to plan, I wanted to buy something that I could use for these next 3 months without having to spend money on a completely new planner. As is, I had been already working on my budget for my 2025 planners, so the thought of having to take out of that and use for something for 2024 again was just not an option. It was not a route I wanted to go down. So instead of buying a whole new planner for the last 3 months of the year, I went this route. I bought myself something that I have not used before, the size at least. I have tried bullet journaling in the past, and based on some of the setups that I would like to try out for the next year, I thought this was something that I could easily transition over. So not only could I use it now, but also implement in some of the things that I'm planning for next year. So that's why I thought this was a great solution. Not to mention its portability, which is something I specifically needed for this travel time. And I mean, look at it. It's so cute. But let's go ahead and get to the bottom of it, what I actually bought it for, to stay organized while on the road. And I did go through Pinterest and also through YouTube, seeing what kind of layouts and formats this particular planner size or passport size typically has. Now, as you may know, certain sizes work better with certain types of layouts. So a lot of passport planners, they typically have a more horizontal versus, let's say, a vertical weekly, because your line spaces for the columns would be a little tight. So passport planners tend to be more on a horizontal weekly, so you can have more writing room. I decided to combine a little bit of the two, so I did a week on 2 page with my middle section kind of defining the days, and then the other opposite sections on each end being available room for me to write my important tasks, my running to-do list, and also just little reminders that I wanted for the week. And of course, me being me, I had to add a bit of a little creative space, so I did leave certain little sections where I could doodle in, and you'll see how that came up all together at the end. Being that the page size is so small, I made sure to not only have my weekly layout, but also give myself a day per page on the other side. You will see that because of the marker I use and also my 0.7 pen, there was quite a bit of bleed through of the ink. So that is something I can say about this paper. I do not really recommend or prefer it. Now, if you guys are die-hard fanatics of this Moleskine paper, go ahead, do you, but I personally did not like it for everything that I like to use on my paper. So I do like to use my markers, my highlighters, my thick pens in combination with my thinner, pens. So that's something that I did immediately notice, but I didn't let that deter me. To kind of help it, I did not use the page that was behind my weekly. Instead, I started my daily directly on the opposing page that was still clear and crisp, just to make sure nothing was holding me back from the layout that I wanted to try. Being that this week we were going to be away from home, I didn't have as many home tasks or chores to fulfill. So instead of having my very detailed habit functional tracking, I instead chose for this 3-section layout. So on the left side, I would have my top 3 and just a running to-do list, while on the right side, I sectioned it off into what would be my morning, my midday, and my evening sort of tasks or schedule or errands that I had to do. And this really facilitated things in my head. And I'll show you further on how it was used at the end. This wraps up my pre-setup, and now we can go ahead and see how the final outcome came out. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So this is what my little passport planner is looking like so far. And I got a little antsy and wrote out October here with the marker, which was not a good idea because it completely bled through to the other side, making it a little difficult for you to read some of the things that I had written down here. But as it is per my MO, I went ahead and put in the weather for how the days were going to be. I also found it a nice spot over here to write in my gym daycare hours since I was visiting a new location and I had to be aware of that. And then, as mentioned previously, here are my top 3 and just like a running to-do list of things that I wanted to get done during the week. And just mini details of things I wanted to remember throughout the week, which is how I tend to use my weekly spreads. They're more of a scope and ideas, not really must-dos, but I like to have this reference for when I work on my real hardy sections, which are my dailies. And down here, this shows you how much I really need to practice my drawing. I was trying to draw an image that I saw on Pinterest. It was another doodle flower, and I completely messed that one up. So I just stuck to the flowers that I know how to draw instead after that failure. I need to get back to drawing. But it was fun, you know, it was a little relaxing here too, since I hadn't used this space because of all the bleed through. I just decided to do a little more doodle, which again, I need to practice more. But as mentioned previously, again, this was meant as like separate sections of things I wanted to do throughout the day. This was kind of like a little running to-do list for the day too. And I decided to box in this little section because they were all tasks that were related to each other for work. So I did that, and you can see how I did like a little moon to represent my evening, full sun for my day tasks, and like early morning sun for my morning tasks. But that marks how I did my first daily layout. Now, because I was trying something new and a new size, I decided to kind of switch it up for how each layout went. So on Tuesday, what I did was I did the schedule on the right side, and then here I put a little song from the cartoon characters that my daughter watches. It sounds sad, but it's really cute in the cartoon. And then below that, my top 3, and then just a running to-do list. This schedule was nice, but I noticed that it wasn't as necessary just because we were traveling. And then even at home, I don't really use the numbers, but for some reason, I just like to have them, and I wanted to give them a try here. And again, you can see more doodles. Now, as mentioned previously as well, columns can be tight, at least in sets of 4s for the passport, but I still wanted to try it out. I do have very small handwriting, and I was like, maybe it would be a good fit for myself, but I didn't like it. I decided to just put a bunch of work tasks here, and it was just, I felt like I could barely get a word in. So it wasn't my favorite to use, but it was nice for me to test out if that was a layout I could work with having 4 columns like that. And then over here, I tried again a different type of daily, this time 2 days per page with the top 3, and then a schedule. And I noticed this was a schedule that I saw a lot on some of the passport planners, where they would have, the numbers underneath, but separated like this, and then with the to-do list on the bottom. And this does not work for my brain. Like it confuses me so much. Since I work so much vertically, the fact that these are both running into each other, I want to read them like this instead of one down and one down. So it wasn't the best. And again, I don't really need a schedule like this with how my life runs right now. But it was fun to try it out and see if that worked for me. And then being that the passport planner is excellent when it comes to horizontal, at least with regards to the spacing, I decided to try that out and use it for my project planning, or in other words, just like how I wanted to send out my videos on YouTube. And it was a complete and utter fail. Again, my brain, just for some reason, when it comes to horizontal planning, like it doesn't compute. It gets me confused. It just didn't work out. The setup didn't really urge me to come back in and continue adding more. So yeah, horizontal is still not my thing, but it definitely is very helpful. I'd say for maybe journaling, it would be really nice to have this horizontal 4 columns layout. Well, not columns. What would they be? Rows. 4 rows set up on a passport planner pages. And then again, switching it up, my weekends are typically non-schedule based, but this time I did have certain things that I wanted to do. So I was like, let me set up a schedule for my 3 days and then just like any running to-do list for the whole entire week. So this was going to be a checklist of different things that I had to do for the weekend. And over here are the things that we actually did. And as you can see, I did not use it, which is something that doesn't surprise me because even on my main planner, I set up my weekends, but I typically don't write in them because it's our family time. But it was nice to have it available in case I did need it. And that brings us to the end of what I did for the week. This was another layout that I was planning in case I used it again for the following Monday. But as you all know, it turns out that I did find my B6 Common Planner after all. So I went back into that. But over here I have some information covered because I wrote in some work details. But I will let you know that this little booklet isn't leaving just yet. So I did find a use of it to stick it to what I'm already using to plan as an addition to my planning. And I'll show you how I'm using it on the next one because there are some things that I have to write in now that the month has started. So I hope you like this impromptu setup after losing my main planner and what I had come up with. I hope this gives you ideas to either use up some of your older journals or perhaps find new ways to use planners that you had fallen out of love with. There's always new ways that you can reimagine the layouts you already have. So I encourage you to try all those things out before we start our new planners in 2025. And I can't wait to see you here on the next one. Bye-bye.